time for the Newsmaker, brought to you by the new 2013 Taurus.
Welcome back to Rome. My guest today has recorded 50 knockout wins in his career. He is the current heavyweight champion of the world, and I am joined in studio by Wladimir Klitschko. Wladimir, it is great to have you. How are you?
I'm doing great, Jim. Thank you very much.
You are the first in-studio guest we've had, so it is good to have you. Now, your next fight is against Tony the Tiger Thompson in Switzerland. That's coming up this summer. That's the fight you get, but is that the fight you want?
That's right, because I fought Tony Thompson in 2008. It was a pretty tough fight. It was difficult because he's a tall guy, as tall as I, and he's a southpaw. So it's not easy even to prepare and find sparring partners. That's what actually the difficult part in the preparation for Tony Thompson. And I won the fight. I knocked him out in the 11th round, but as I said before, all the first rounds and actually the fight was pretty difficult to me. And now I have to choose. I have two options. Either I will drop the title, and it's IBF title, so that Tony Thompson is going to fight for the title with someone else, or I'm going to face him and defend my titles as I always did, and that's what I chose. So I'm going to fight him, and I will defend.
So you accept the mandatory. All right, yes, so they can't take that belt from you. All right, let me ask you something. Lennox Lewis, the former champion of the world, said recently the heavyweight division is dead, and that you and your brother Vitaly simply fill your bags full of cash, and that neither one of you would have made it as sparring partners for him. You've heard this rap. What's your reaction to it?
Well, there are different opinions that people have. Either it's Sugar Leonard or Mike Tyson. They're like maybe pro Klitschko now. And Lennox Lewis is against with the criticism that he's giving to us. And we are getting criticized all the time that our style is boring. So in the 50 knockouts that I have celebrated on March 3rd, I mean, it's a good number, I guess. Out of 60 fights that I had, 50 knockouts. Even to me, I was kind of surprised how fast time goes by and how many fights I've done already. But we're going to fight, or my next match is going to be at another soccer stadium, and it's going to be number 8 in a row.
Let me jump in. Go back to the criticism that it's not a pleasing style, that you're not exciting enough, that you don't knock guys out the way you should knock guys out. Respond to that criticism. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm fighting very technically, and that's actually what is kind of boring, maybe. That it's only one-sided fight, but I'm preparing for my fights so well that I don't want to give a chance to my opponent to crash on my glass chin, as they say. So I'm knocking them out in a way that I like. So I'm obviously giving a lot of jabs, and at the end of the fight,
Hey, you think that's ironic that Lennox is the guy saying that? Was that not said about Lennox when he fought?
I think that a lot of fighters, as Emmanuel Stewart, my coach, said, a lot of fighters in the history, they had the same issue. There were a lot of guys in the history, champions that were fighting until a certain period of time, like a month, as it was with Joe Louis.
Right.
I don't want to compare myself with Joe Louis because he's an icon in boxing, and but there has been a certain period of time when they were facing some big fights, and I was fighting more or less kind of big fight with what's his name, David Haye.
Right.
And so I hope that...
Hey, stop right there for a minute. What about Haye? Haye said some pretty gruesome things about you and your brother, kept running his mouth, kept running his mouth. You finally got in the ring with him, and then he chose not to engage. He chose not to fight at all. What did you think about that?
Well, whatever. You know what? Actually, I will cut you off here because David Haye is not in...
You brought it up, my man, not me.
He's not even a fighter right now. He's retired officially, and whatever he did in the past, he got paid for that, paid in a way like for all the talk that he did. And at the end of the day, the pay was he lost the fight, and he was actually sinking in all the garbage that he has been producing, so to say. And I'm actually want to focus more on the future, and that's that American contenders that are coming up. Especially,
who?
Let's face it, Tony Thompson on July 7th is going to be staged out in Switzerland at another soccer stadium, and we're going to be sold out again, which is amazing. Then we'll have, by the end of the year, I'm going to face either Chris Arreola, that has been tremendously recovered from the loss against Vitaly, and he knocked tremendously a lot of guys out, and then Seth Mitchell. I want to introduce you to Seth Mitchell, that is undefeated American fighter.
That's later in the year. Those are those. Hey, before you go, and let me ask you one thing. I'm going to jump in. Vitaly's fight with Derek Chisora was really something. Before that fight, he slapped your brother, and then before, I mean, at the press conference, in the weigh-in, and then before the fight, he spit water in your face, and neither one of you responded. How were you able to keep your head when a man spit water in your face?
Jim, I guess you know my abilities. to do something with my hands.
Sure.
I've been practicing a lot, and it was very difficult to hold myself back, especially right before the fight when Derek Chisora spit water in my face. And I think that was the slapping at the press conference, at the weigh-in, and then later on the spitting water in the face right before the fight starts. I saw it as he wants to get disqualified, and that was my attention and my understanding. And I don't want to do anything that can cause any losing of attention from my brother, because that was his night and was his fight, and I had to hold myself back. And my father told me, and he taught me, the word can hit harder than the fist. And actually, everything that happened after the fight, that he got involved in the fight with his countryman, David Haye, that was at the press conference, and everything what happened, it was so disgraceful. And I think all what was said at the press conference after the fight, and especially slapping and spitting water, there was actually slapping and spitting water in the faces of fans and other champions in the history, because it's disgraceful for the sport.
I've got about 30 seconds. I'm glad you brought that up very quickly. Nobody's ever seen anything like that before. What punishment would fit the crime? The two of them fighting in the press conference, Haye and Chisora, after the fight, because it was so brutal. What punishment should there be for that?
Okay, first of all, it's disgraceful to the sport. And David Haye is not the actual fighter, so he is retired. He's not an athlete, so we cannot do anything to him. But Derek Chisora has been disqualified. He cannot fight. He lost his license. And for a certain period of time, I don't know for how long, so nothing has been said for how long it's going to be, but he got a fine of $150,000 as well. And I think that's...
And to your point, hey, what can you do to a guy who's already retired? You can't punish somebody who's not fighting anymore. Your next fight is Tony the Tiger Thompson in Switzerland in July. I told you Wladimir was going to move quickly, but I'm glad you're the first guest we've had in studio. It's great to see you, and thank you very much.
I'm glad to be the first. I wish you good luck, Jim.
You too. Great to see you, Wladimir.
Thank you.
All right, coming up next.